So I will commence the meeting. And you just let me know, I guess, yeah, that's the beginning of the meeting. All right, well, everybody, thank you for being here. It is Wednesday, March the 1st. It's 7:10 Eastern, or I guess Central.
8:10 Eastern.
8:10, thank you. So if you're here, you have already seen the video, digested what I was kind of putting down. If this is your first time watching this video, this is part 2. So I would suggest, assuming that these 2 videos do go public, go watch the first video, and then you could follow up with this one, or else you're just going to be completely lost. I was kind of hoping that there'd be more people here. Whether or not those people are here because they don't want to participate, or whether or not they just don't check their emails, or they're not active in the Facebook group, I'm not sure. But if you go back, you can see usually under the messages that, it says who is reading the messages, and usually after a day or two, everybody's getting the notices. So y'all know that two weeks ago we had a meeting to discuss whether or not the society has a future, and as it stands, I think the society can have a future, but it's going to mean that everybody who is here is willing to do something, and 4 people isn't enough to run this thing. It's a lot. So one of the things that I mentioned to Chris that I hadn't mentioned in the first meeting, because it hadn't occurred to me until after, was that I've received a couple of membership renewals, and I actually believe one new membership request, and I'm actually half tempted to refund that person his or her money, because for their money, they're not going to receive anything from us. And it's just an unfortunate that we can't deliver on the promises that we have been making for so long. And I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anybody. And if I were, I would point the fingers at myself first for not being able to polarize everybody into wanting to do more. And we're just kind of at a new place in society where you don't have to be in front of a board. You don't have to sit in front of 7 other people on a panel at a meeting. You can do meetings through Zoom. And I think a lot of that disconnect, the personability in these, lack thereof, of these meetings, kind of, when you leave a meeting and everybody's pumped up, you'll leave the meeting pumped up, and you'll want to go and do, and that will last hopefully until the next meeting. But when we're talking on Zoom and we're talking about a failing society, at the end of the society, you're just kind of walking away and being like, man, that sucks. Oh well, I'll just catch the next meeting. And I haven't been able to tap into what it means to be able to get people excited about wanting to do it. And maybe everybody had done the thing for so long before I showed up that by the time I showed up, everybody was just kind of like, meh, we'll see how it goes. I'm not really ready to give up on the society. I just don't know how to proceed with the lack of a full deck of cards. So I really do think what I want to do is, first, I want to put forth the motion of having a vote with all of our voting members, whether or not we should continue taking money from people, knowing very well that we can't deliver on our base promises, which is to give them a membership. I have all the stuff to do that. But for me, not only one am I not motivated enough to sit down and force myself to do that job, it's also not my job. And I don't want to have to be, go ahead. Go ahead,
Michael,
Jennifer.
we have an AGM coming up in New York, and it's only a month away, right? A month and a half.
That's correct. It'll be on April the 16th at 11:30 at
Right.
I can't call the
Okay.
place right now.
Will somebody be organizing some kind of Zoom? Because we're probably not going to have too many people actually there. It's the place to go. Time of year. As exciting as starting day is. I'll tell you why I'm asking. I don't really need the answer to that. The reason is that you've got an AGM in which you could take various votes of the membership. You can publish the list of things that will be, determined or prior to. We've got plenty of time to put that out there and make sure that there's a way for people to do that, either in person or by some public proxy, be there by Zoom or by sending in a note or whatever. That could all be done. We got plenty of time, and it doesn't take that much work to do that. So things that, for example, we could give a question: should we return people's money since we do not anticipate a whole lot of activity in the next year? Boom. Point one. Point two. We are having difficulty with with volunteers and getting a lot of things done. We have three options. We can close down, we can we can keep struggling, and we can put ourselves into some kind of hibernation. Or next question, should we hire an accountant to make sure we take care of our due diligence for the next year? Not to spend more than, say, $5,000 or $3,000. There are like three very specific questions that could be determined, and they could be voted on and official in a month and a half.
That is a good set of suggestions that I will definitely think about. And this is not me trying to say I'm going to think about it and then tabling it until a week ahead of time, but those are really good suggestions. And I need to wrap my head around. Now I know when we do a vote, we're supposed to make a vote that is open for everybody. And if you are indeed going to do a vote about the futures of the society, it should be open to everybody, and everybody needs to know kind of what's at stake. So
Bruce can also advise us, or the others can advise us if there are things that the board decides versus the membership. But we can certainly ask, if they're appropriate, we can ask the membership what their sense is as well.
I think you're onto something. I really do. As far as whether or not we should take money and stop issuing memberships, I'm not sure if that should fall under the board or if that should fall under the society's vote, because everybody who's a member is kind of going to be biased. I would imagine, this is just how my head works, I would imagine everybody would say, no, don't shut it down, keep doing your job. Well, then I'm going to be like, okay, are you willing to help? And they're just like, no, we don't want to help. We just want to say, don't close down, keep your nose at the grindstone. But that's kind of me being a pessimist. I've been kind of pessimistic about this whole situation for the last several months anyways. But I'm not ready to give up on it. I really kind of at a loss of what we should do next. Because there's nobody to do anything. Even I say, hey, I need you to make this, or I need you to make that, I need you to make this. 6 months down the road.
Clearly, the number one issue behind the organization is that we are not getting new members in who have that level of excitement to come do something, right? And that applies to doing the stuff we're talking about, and it also applies to convening and things of that nature across the board. So unless we get new blood, and we can't all be over the age of 70 or 80 or 90, and keep going. At some point after we've done our 10 years, people are gonna, people basically say, look, I'm happy to be, around, but somebody else needs to step up. If that doesn't happen, then you can't continue. Nobody else can continue. You certainly can't do your job if you don't have help. So don't feel discouraged. I know you're discouraged. I know you're depressed about it. Try to dig yourself out of that depression, and let's move it to the point. That's one of the reasons why one of the options I gave you there was that we put things into some form of hibernation. Starting the thing up again is a really hard thing. So if we do suddenly get a cadre of people who say, gee, I wish there was, it would be much easier if we could say, well, it exists. The shell is there, it's alive, and all you got to do is step in and put the people in place.
Yep. So I did speak on that specifically in the last video, where I said if nobody showed up, if it's just me, then I would need to look into the Constitution and pass the Constitution into what is Alabama law, because as we are right now, because pretty sure we're just an Alabama-based 501c3. I don't know how it works on a national level. Where it goes, does it go where the president is? Does it go where the treasurer is? I really don't understand law. That's right. But I do know that in certain states, 501c3s can be maintained with a single executor. That's after their startup. We've started up. So depending on what Alabama law is, or wherever we're actually based out of, is that they have a law that says we can fire everybody, hire one person to watch the bank. And that just may be where we need to go to say, hey, you know what, let's just pack this thing up. And then in a couple of years from now, if somebody wants to come in and say, hey, let's give it a shot, I can say, hey, guess what? We have laid the groundwork. We've done all that. That would probably be relatively simple process, but we have to, kind of also be keenly aware of, if you're tabling that going into hibernation, it's a good word for it, that it may never be resurrected. So if you have one person who kind of remains executor of the accounts, does the taxes every 2 years, then that one person, we could maintain our 501c3, because every year you're supposed to give a charitable donation to an entity. We could just say, hey, we're going to do X amount of money every year until the money runs out. Or, let it act out. We're not going to take new money. We're not going to issue memberships. We're not going to do these things except once a year. We're going to stroke a check to somebody for some reason. Maybe the scholarship keeps going because we get 3 or 4 people who put in for it a year. That's easy. I've got 2 or 3 that I'm reviewing right now. I actually need to probably push those out to everybody who wants to review them, so there can be a vote on that scholarship. Or we'll just say, hey, get rid of scholarship altogether and stroke a check to Highlands Islands, or I don't know. But as it is with the 4 of us, we're not going to be able to address the membership issue. We're not going to be able to put out a proper newsletter without just everybody busting their butts. I don't see a way forward right now for us. It's not continuing down and maintaining what we're currently doing. So I need to start this video and that video probably need to make their way onto YouTube. I know the first videos on YouTube, it's probably got 4 or 5 views. This video will make its way onto YouTube, but I have purposely not put either of them on the Facebook page yet, because I wanted us to come to a resolution. But the only resolution we could come to right now is that there's not enough of us to do anything worthwhile. And that's not the resolution I wanted. I wanted a dozen people here tonight who are all like, all right, you know, let's do it. And it's, you know, that's not what happened.
Well, it's clearly not gonna happen, because they haven't shown up, so. I think we need to take the next steps. Let me ask separately. There's no reason why a newsletter, if there are people who are willing to do it, couldn't be provided on a regular basis, irrespective of how active the actual organization is. I think that you said that we have somebody who's willing to put it together if we get content.
Roland, who was doing it before, he's what, over 90?
He's gone. Let's
No.
assume that Roland is gone.
No,
There's
well,
somebody
Roland,
else.
Roland is the one who volunteered to temporarily come back and continue.
Yeah, but he doesn't know the internet. He doesn't know how to do an electronic version, right?
He was generating PDFs in the past, but like we tried to get him to transfer the information on a flash drive. That
I
didn't.
thought we had somebody else.
No, it would, well, Bob in North Carolina had volunteered, but then health issues took him out. We
Yeah, Roland is what, 80?
90, something like that. I don't know.
90? Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, we need something. Isn't there anybody who's like 50 years old that can, you know, I can put together a newsletter. I don't want to do it because I've got a zillion other things to do.
That's
I'm
just
happy to
it.
contribute.
We get a lot of, I would do it, but we don't get any volunteers. Andrew said he might be able to get his cousin to do it. His cousin wasn't in marketing. That was in the last meeting. So we need to follow up with Andrew. Something, Michael, you might could do, reach out to Casca. A lady came to my tent at Stone Mountain a long time ago. She was doing newsletters for people free, but she put a few ads in them. That's how she generated her income. So you submit the material and she puts it out, she sends it out, she takes, you know, I mean, all physical mail she didn't do. She'll send you back a PDF. We can email burst it out on that list and we can print it out to the few who still wanted it paper. But if you can reach out to Casca and see if they can identify her, because at the time we had no problems. So I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks, bye. You know, then like 2 years later, it all fell apart and I don't have her card anymore.
Would Roland be willing to do that, reaching out?
No, I don't think we want Roland reaching out to Casca and stuff like that. Probably Michael will be better than that for that. They'll respond better to him if they respond.
Trying to take things off of Michael's shoulders.
Yeah, when I was chairman, Andrew talked to the president of Casca and he's like, because I complained that they were unresponsive. The president told Andrew, yeah, tell him to email me directly. I emailed the president of Casca directly and they still didn't respond. So that's when I lost faith in them quite a bit. They're better now. They're actually initiating contact, sending out stuff now. So
didn't we pay them money this last year?
Yeah. And now they're sending out, like, if you're on the board, you can create an account on their site if Michael approves it to get their emails that they're starting to send out again and stuff like that.
I'm almost getting weekly emails from them.
All right, we're at our 10-minute countdown.
Okay, well, I really don't see an issue, a need to do a second half of this video, because we're just gonna end up, you know, shooting the breeze and talking, and we kind of all know where we're at. Ideas are good, but without legs, an idea is just that. I will reach out to Costco and find out if that person is still affiliated with them. But
or any
Kind of.
other solution they may have.
and so they are putting out good material. I get multiple emails from them probably once a week, twice a week. And sometimes I'm able to get into them and read them, and sometimes I just don't have time for it. And a lot of times it's, is your organization having issues? Try these things, and those are good, but I haven't really seen or read anything that stood out for me that we haven't really already tried that's at this point gonna make much of an impact. If the society does go the way of the buffalo, I want the three of you said it has been a fun ride. I told Chris at the beginning, I said, when I first met Chris and I told him I was interested, that was a 20-year goal for me. I said, what? I think I could probably become president of Clan Morrison in 20 years. It was like 6 weeks later. He's like, hey, guess what? You got the job.
You're
I
on,
was like,
you're on the fast track.
no.
I mean, Chris felt the same way when he was bright.
I
Yeah.
did. I mean, I'd had a long talk with Art on the phone, telling him specifically, I do not want to be chairman. Then we showed up at that AGM and he's like, Chris, can you do the work? Okay. And then shortly after that, you're chairman. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Okay, so since we're finishing up in 7 minutes, where are we? What's happening going forward?
I really don't know. If I were to go based on the numbers today, my gut, my brain, they tell me, hey man, there's nothing you can do. I have never in my entire life just given up on something. I've told bosses before, if you want me gone, you're going to have to fire me. I've never been fired. There have been times where I was.
Even
There have been times
even if we have to give up, we still need to have 1 or 2 people involved that will
Yes,
sort
I
of keep an eye on things, right? And
I agree. Yes.
I can certainly do one of those if we're in that kind of situation. I don't have, I'm dealing with my mother's estate. I've got 15 other things going on, just like you've got, and I'm not in the States. So I can't do things such as being.
I said in the,
So
I
what I'm
said in
saying
the last
in
meeting
terms
that
of needing a ongoing board of 3 people, say 3 or 4 people, I think you could come up with 2 or 3 people to join you that will simply be there, A, to hire someone to make sure we get the taxes done, and B, to just be there, make sure we've done our due diligence. And then if somebody picks it up in a couple of years, it's all well and good.
I agree. So to that end, I'll probably start looking into the laws of what it would take to pause a 501c3 without getting rid of the entity. I really don't want that to be where we're going, but I don't really see another avenue other than us just moving forward with what we're doing, and that's just going to kind of getting behind the cart. We're no longer leading the cart. The cart is just 2 or 3 miles in front of us, and we're just like, hey, sorry, we can't pull you anymore.
Down to 5 minutes.
All right.
I would,
Well, anyway, Bob?
Bob, you haven't said anything.
I would suggest that you maybe put out sometime maybe on the Facebook page, just saying, these are some issues, these are the issues that we need to cover at the AGM, and see if there's anybody that's going to show up for the AGM, and then we can vote on those issues then.
I'm not entirely sure that this is the kind of issue that I would leave up to the general membership. If I knew I was on a
Okay.
general membership and they saying they were getting rid of an organization that I paid several $100s to be a member of, I'd be like, no, don't get rid of it. That's just me being kind of a pessimist anyways. Maybe a realist, I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna look at what it legally takes to sideline a 501c3. Also, if you have watched the first video and you're watching the second video and you're not a member of the board of directors, you could directly affect this not happening by volunteering. If you want to see the society move forward and rebuild itself to what it can and where it can be, you can make yourself responsible for making that happen. We've got a president and a secretary, but we need a vice president and a treasurer and a historian and a chaplain. and it looks like we need about 4 is large. So we need to fill an entire organization. And if you want to be a part of it, say something.
Michael, the problem
Anyways,
that you're,
if this
that you're
isn't-
dealing with here, the people you're asking are the people who have done all of these things for the last 15, 20 years.
I am talking
We've
to
all put that time in.
anybody. I'm talking to anybody who's watching this video right now. If you're watching the video, you probably come across it on YouTube or you're watching it through the Facebook page. So, and they all I've got for you. If this is our last official Zoom meeting as a board, and I still have to do one for the AGM in April, but I just want to say that I have loved and hated every minute of this. It really has been a high point of the last several years of my life. So
Thanks for all your work.
for those of you who
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything that you have done.
Yep. Definitely.
Thank you.
We'll see you
All
in
right,
April.
Chris,